Hello, and Hello, and I would like to start by addressing the big question. They aren't my curtains, it's a rental. Welcome to my 2023 F1 Look Ahead webinar series. Basically, consider this the only look ahead to the new F1 season video that you need. But before we get started, before we roll that out, we just need to have a word from our sponsor. Right, okay, now that's done. Let's start with me then. Why am I qualified to talk about this subject? I've been watching F1 for a long time. I would say in their entirety, I've watched maybe 11 or 12 races in total. But it isn't just spectator experience that I've got. Last year, I did enter a kart race myself. I finished 13th out of 25. Now, you might be thinking, it's not that impressive, but I wasn't actually expecting to take part in the race. They just needed an on-track supervisor for my nephew's birthday party. So the credentials are there. Let's start looking at the new season. Starting with the calendar then. This is the official F1 calendar, but I'm not convinced about it. It's not very clear. I'm not exactly sure where the races are. So I've done my own version, which I think you can agree is much clearer. It shows they've gone to real great lengths to really ramp up the air miles ahead of this season, really get those as high as they can, so that in the years to come, when they order the calendar logically, like for example not putting Miami straight after Baku, they can then claim a massive cut in emissions and progress towards that net zero target. Also no Paul Ricard on the circuit this season. That one's crashed off, which is impressive given how much runoff that track has. But let's then take a closer look at some of the races that are featuring this year. Miami. Now, an exciting addition to the calendar last year, but it has to be said, the race didn't really live up to expectations. So to combat that, they've come out with some changes this year to try and make the track less painful. One of those changes is putting the paddock inside an NFL stadium. Presumably that's to save the F1 staff having to watch the race. The rest of us aren't quite so lucky. Brand new on the calendar this season, then we have Las Vegas. Unfortunately, this map is all they've given us in terms of information about the track, and it doesn't really give a huge amount away. So I've done my own version. As you can see, I've highlighted the overtaking zones in green on my version, so we can see where we can expect a bit of on-track action. So we do have that to look forward to, but the addition of Las Vegas, is it potentially the end of Monaco? Las Vegas, bit of a glamour track. This could be the end of Monaco as a sort of standard track on the F1 calendar. And of course, what I was meant to say there was that Monaco signed a new 3-year deal to remain on the calendar until 2025, which is bad news really for motorsport fans that have eyes, because I'd rather stick pins in them than watch that Grand Prix. Moving on then, and not sure how that got there. Yes, let's take a look at how We Racers 1 is going. We're staying steady on 3 races this season where it's illegal for a large group of people to be themselves. You might be looking at that thinking it's an encouraging flattening actually, but the data's a bit misleading on this one. Had Singapore not seen sense and decided to legalise homosexuality, we would have been up to 4 with the addition of Qatar. So We Racers 1 going sterling, I think you can agree, for F1. And if you're watching this thinking, this is just the classic West pushing their culture on everyone else, educate yourself. Now we'll take a brief look at the team lineups then, and there's lots of ones worth getting excited about this season. Oscar Piastri, of course, signing for Alpine but racing for McLaren in an interesting turn of events. Alpine team principal Otmar Schaffnauer on the record saying, I hope you have a simply dreadful season, you treacherous oaf. I'm reading a bit between the lines there, but that's basically what he said. Elsewhere, Mike Crack heads up the Aston Martin team for the 2nd season in a row. Really looking forward to seeing what Mike Crack can do at Aston Martin this season. With Alonso joining, should be a good season for Mike Crack. As for Mercedes, they'll be hoping for a much better Oh, sorry. I've just realised there's a blooming typo there, isn't there? That's embarrassing. Need to change that. God. It's quite awkward there. Mercedes will be hoping for a much better season this time around. Whether they can do it, it's still very much in the air. But you will obviously notice there are two huge omissions from this driver lineup. You know, I am aware there's two very important drivers that haven't been included, and that's because I'm going to give them their own slide. So the first one, of course, Nicholas Latifi. Going to be sorely missed this year. Didn't have his best time last season with Williams, but true fans, you know, will always remember that P9 in Japan. But obviously also the other driver that I've missed off, the multiple-time world champion. We cannot forget Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, he's also retired this season. Very, very sad to see. Really saw his popularity skyrocket in his last few years in F1. So I actually commissioned a survey to find out just how popular Sebastian Vettel is. And the results are as follows. 14 of the people that I asked said that they did like Sebastian Vettel. And the other 6 are liars, actually. That's what the survey found out for us. Not quite 3/4 of people willing to go on the record with their love for Sebastian Vettel. Ahead of this season, then, F1 has reportedly been the subject of a $17 billion bid from the Saudi investment fund. Unfortunately, that asking price just slightly takes me out of the equation as a possible owner for F1, just ever so slightly, just takes it away from me, which is a shame, really, because that means we're never going to see Scott's sweeping F1 reforms. So the first one is bin off Monaco. Always a boring race. Cars are too wide, too fast, and I think it does more damage than good to public perception on F1. My second point is I just fully make sure that Monaco is binned off. Just fully get rid of it, make sure that that's gone. Number 3, I would add minimum ground clearance so the cars can actually race in the wet. And if you're sat there thinking, well, that's just going to slow them down, I don't care. This isn't cricket. I absolutely get the safety aspect, and I don't blame the red flags that we see these days. But motorsport is all weathers, so can we go back to that, please? Fourthly, I wouldn't put Miami after Baku on the calendar. And lastly, I would just, in case the first two are missed off, just fully bin off Monaco. Just honestly make sure that that's, gone. Now, it is customary in people that do these kind of videos to make predictions about the new season, but allow me to buck that trend. We've not seen any of the cars competitively yet. I don't see any point in doing any predictions. But I do think Lewis Hamilton is going to win the world title. I think that Mercedes will have the pace this year to get him the wins, to get that 8th title, possibly retiring off the back of it. I mean, I was looking at the driver slide before, a few slides back, and I was just thinking, no one here has an answer. I can't see anyone in that list that's going to beat Hamilton this season, unless I'm missing someone. So Lewis Hamilton to win the world title. As you can see, this is where the special effects budget went. No expense spared, of course. But that's it, no more predictions to be expected from me in this video. Oh, I have actually done some more predictions, sorry. First of all, most laps led. I'm going to say the safety car for that one. For the surprise package, I'm going to say the weather. You're looking at all those air miles, putting Miami after Baku. It's really going to play a part this season, the deteriorating climate catastrophe, and I'm expecting to see some surprises. On to least likely to follow the rules then. I'm going to say the FIA for this one. They do have previous. And quickest in the dry is without question the Super Soft tyre. That then concludes today's webinar. I do hope you enjoyed hearing from someone that very clearly knows exactly what he's talking about. You can give me your thoughts in the comments, of course. Tributes to Latifi and Vettel following their departure would be most welcome. And of course, if I've missed something out, if I've missed off a driver, for example, do feel free to flag that. I'm pretty sure I haven't, but just in case. I think I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly because we are running out of time on this webinar today, and well, I wouldn't want to get cut